Hi, everybody. Welcome to the September Energy Update. So, today I'm going to do a little bit of an overview again of 26, as I typically do with respect to the energies, because as you know, this is an energy update. And what they've shown me and what I've now seen, how that will impact us moving forward. But there's also some individual work for us to do, and they actually use me as a guinea pig. Anyway, these last couple of weeks, and I'll explain more of that. I just think it's a really good exercise for you to consider if along your spiritual journey, particularly now at the times that we're in. Anyway, so that's what we're going to be doing today, and then I'll probably we'll see if there's some collective information. Well, this is all collective information, but we'll see what else there is. Anyway, so I hope you've been doing well. In August, so we had Lionsgate and we had the eclipse. And I'm going to tell you right now, talk about presenting, how do I say this? Presenting things for us to observe that may have been like hiding in the shadows. Now that can take all different forms. But August has been very different. I know this may sound hard to understand, but I think you can put this into your own experiences with the month that you've had. And of course, always feel free to share anything that you want that you think would be learning for others, and that you just want to talk about along these lines. So August was kind of this time of, and I don't remember my energy update, by the way. I just give it to you in the now moment. August was this time where we started to take, and this is where September really hits. They called it compressed energy, or this we created this bookend energy, the cosmos did, from February to August. And they were telling me about, and I know we have eclipses that'll be coming up again, obviously, but this is a different kind of energy this year. So the eclipses in February, they showed me February, and I'm like, what was that? I'm like, oh yeah, eclipses. And they said, yeah. And then as we come into August with the solar eclipse, Lionsgate, oh, that's interesting, Lionsgate, because what they showed me was this chunk of energy, this huge, massive amount of energy that has been cumulative, has been building, okay, in the cosmos for us to use in this journey, is actually an acceleration for us, but it's like a compacted energy that they're showing me that came kind of handed to us in August, and now we're in the throes of understanding what to do with it. I know that sounds a little nebulous, but I would bet you many of you have had already things that have come up that were gelling in the background that now are needing to be seen or dealt with. Things that you were working on or that were in your awareness, because remember, it's not always that clear, that then all of a sudden are much more observable. Then there's also those who have had, you can't mistake it, a marked moment, things have changed or are changing, because remember, it's not always a point in time. What is happening now is that start of that is going into September through the rest of the year, and what they're telling me is everything is changing from here, from September through the end of the year. Now, what that looks like, I don't know. We all have a tendency to think, oh, what's that mean materially? What's that going to look? What are the things that are going to happen? That I don't always know, obviously, because here's the thing. This is an individual journey. First and foremost, always remember this. This is an individual journey. Yes, it rolls up to the collective, but you will see this in some form within your own journey. And it'll be different for everybody, but at the same time, it's the same in the sense of where you're at and how you're accommodating these energies for this continued growth in higher consciousness and moving through the awakening journey. I'm going to give you some examples from myself, so that'll help you kind of understand this a little bit more. But what this also boils down to is so recognizing what may be showing up in your journey, because remember, it's not about the external world. It's not about what's happening out there for you to work on and control. And yes, I know some of us are working in that field, right? Whatever. But you're there for a reason. But at the same time, all of that in your day-to-day, if you're out there in the chaos, and I'm thinking of things like you work in politics or you work in activism or whatever. Anyway, that's still that's still an external thing in a way. You still have your internal, right? You still have your own individual journey within that larger context of the collective or that external energy. So the point in that is being able to understand what that is within you. So recognizing the things that are being presented to you, what are starting to show up, what are bigger than they were, what are actually culminating, okay? Because it's a process. And your soul self, true self, we're starting to come more in line with just that gut, faith, and trust knowing of what we feel is real and true. They just keep saying faith and trust, faith and trust, faith and trust. It's also faith and trust in yourself, and then what I always call our spirit team. I mean, because we do have help. We do have help. But again, it's really being able to connect into yourself. Again, I'm going to give you a good example of what went on with me recently. So you're taking that now into September. You might not even know what it is. It might just be a feeling that something's changing, okay? But many of you know the thing that's in your way or for you to deal with. Many of you. And here's the thing. We're not going to be able to just set it aside any longer. Again, it doesn't unfold necessarily overnight. Some people's things do, but these are things we're going to need to deal with moving forward to release us from this hold we have, or that it has as a hold on us. All right. Things also can be situations where you didn't see this coming at all, because remember, this is an acceleration time. It could be from past lives. It could be from an early, part of your journey in this incarnation. So we're in acceleration phase because we have this compressed amount of energy from February to August that's kind of like here doing this thing, like vibrating. And it's kind of foundational. It's foundational to what else happens here and on Earth. It's cosmic, right? It's collective. So this energy is here, and what it's doing is allowing us, as we talked about June, July, and August, to start creating anew. Well, remember, that sounds all wonderful, right? Creating anew, yeah, cool. Well, you gotta break down the old, adjust the old, or deal with the old, because the old's not coming forward in the way that it looked before, okay? And we have to decide if we're even bringing any of that forward. So a lot of, and kind of more than I ever would have thought, like this is a deep dive into cleaning us out with our stuff. So we've got to work that in tandem with creating. So a lot of people think, well, I haven't done my work. I'm not there yet. Well, there is no there yet. No, you create it new at the same time you're dealing with the old. In fact, that's what that is, right? So ensuring that, you kind of understand that, and you're not just kind of waiting around for the lightning bolt to strike, right? This is about recreating self in a way that serves you and in the way that you've always wanted to have that happen. Now, some of you might be there, because remember, this is a continuum. It's not everybody all at once. It's too much energy. Some of you, doesn't mean your learning's done though, right? May be in this place of like, wow, I'm here. Look at that work I've done. And so, what that essentially is, you're in a new frequency. Now you get offered new opportunities for learning because we never end. That never ends. But also, we start sailing more smoothly through it. Uh, or I should say, I don't want to say that, with a more learned approach. You have a lot of knowledge to take in. It's how this process works, so that we also don't go into fear, which we're going to talk a lot about that today. Because that's the number one underlying piece they want to talk about with respect to being able to create anew. Okay? So, part of this journey, well, a huge part of the human journey that we've come into now, is to learn how to manage our emotions. Because we are overly emotional creatures, and in how we either internalize our feelings and stuff them down, or how we express them out. And as we know, those can both be not very constructive and oftentimes very destructive. So what we're here to do in this lifetime, among a gazillion other things, but one of the biggies is to learn to manage our human emotions. So what does that look like? Well, first of all, recognizing where it is. Well, and let me just say this first. So we have emotions of joy and happiness, but those also can be they're on a scale too. Like over exuberance and too much joy and too much, I don't call it happiness, but yeah, can turn into chaos. Think of, okay, I don't know, this came in. I'm not a soccer fan. I mean, it's great, but I don't know anything about it. But I know there are issues with crowds, right? Think about it. They go because they love the sport. The sport in and of itself is joyful and beautiful. But then that over exuberance, the extreme emotion of joy and happiness, and you bring in the human competition part of that, and that gets all corrupted, right? And then it turns into, at times, violence. Okay, so what started as a beautiful thing, coupled with a lot of our human tendencies, competition, winning, turns into violence. Anyway, the point in that is really looking at managing our emotions so that we can still feel that, okay, and yet we're further away from it, if that makes sense. You know, I've always talked about the observer to the thing that is occurring, and how if we create space between us and the thing happening, and we breathe, even in a immediate moment of something happening right now, right? Breathing and taking that space, we react differently, okay? We react from a more stable place. That's the same thing that happens with recognizing the emotions that we have going on, all right? And not being too close to the thing, to the emotion, but breathing and having space. Oh, you're going to feel so much different too. I mean, it just feels so much better. And being able to experience, let's just say, joy and happiness without going to the extreme. And here you are, you experience it without maybe even that external expression. And within that comes a sense of peace, of being able to experience the world around us, but not carrying forward extreme emotion in any sense. Now, that's hard to do in a lot of cases, right? Like grief. Oh my gosh, grief. Yeah, you have to get it out, but it means don't live in it, right? I'll just use this as an example. Feeling, let's say someone passes away, a loved one, which obviously we all have had or will have. The grief is palpable and the emotion is there. Yes, we feel the emotion constructively, hopefully, and not in a damaging way to ourselves. For example, going out and drinking and doing drugs and whatever to solve the problem, right? So your emotion is there, and now it's about constructively utilizing it and feeling the grief, crying, whatever it is, that because the crying, remember, tears are the way for us to express out energy. I mean, it's huge because it's crystalline too. And they've always said this is the way. This is why I always feel so good after a good cry, right? And I hope everybody's crying on occasion, whether it be happy tears or you're working something out, because it's really important emotional release for ourselves. So anyway, as we start navigating what we feel, we start to and be very aware of it. That feeling inside, the chest, the stomach, the gut, knowing that, oh, I feel I'm going into that place again. That place, yeah, it might have been a positive emotion, but now I'm overdoing it. Or maybe it's like a grief emotion, and I'm going to cry for days on end, but I'm also, and you don't make these decisions right away, I realize, because this is a process, but I'm not going to go years out and stay in that place and become a shadow of myself, right? So this is really what it's about, is being able to do this on a regular basis. It's not just one and done either, because of course, like with grief, that's changes over time, right? So being able to, when they talk about doing the work, this is one of the, they're talking about doing the work, right? It's not just, it's really being aware of who we are. It is true self-awareness, right? So emotional management, understanding what you're feeling and connecting into that before it becomes extreme is really important now for yourself, because you're going through the journey and this is allowing you to elevate. But it's a collective. This is why this is part of the collective energy update. It's so important for the collective in what you do to be able to stabilize yourself, create a foundation, and be the grounding presence for others. You come first, right? You're doing the work for you, because that's got to happen. It's the air mask thing in the plane, right? Put yours on first. And then when you are able to do these things, and then you create that stable foundation for the rest. Wow, there's a lot of energy around this. So again, part of the learning here is taking what is going on in your journey right now, what you're feeling, and learning to look at that differently when it happens. Lots of times we can go really fast into an emotion. And that's where we want to really go. Then we got to catch ourselves. This is a conscious awareness of going, oh God, I'm there. Oh, stop. Like two of you inside of yourself. Like here's persona, human, Carolyn. Here's higher self, Carolyn, going, okay, wait, stop. Let's assess this kind of thing. And sometimes it's a quick assessment, but we have to be able to practice this as well. Like at home when we're feeling subtle emotions, or it's a great thing to work on, is what I will tell you. And I think we all do it. We just don't know we just aren't working on it consciously. So I'm going to give you my example. It's not even the example. It's the number one thing they want you to think about when we manage our emotions. Fear is the most, fear and shame, but fear, because fear is also can come from anything, right? Fear is the number one emotion that we are needing to be able to manage, because the external world is wanting to put us in fear. Those that are in control, wanting to keep us in fear. And it is insidious and used in so many ways. Roundabout ways, very direct. Be very, very, very aware of that, okay? And how it can creep into your day-to-day. It is insidious. So what I would suggest, since fear is the number one thing they're really wanting us to focus on, is dissolving that, is take a look. Let's see, I think I made some notes on this. Okay. Oh, okay. So there's two kind of parts to this. When you're in the throes of a big emotion, what they really want to have happen is for you to take a moment and breathe and just feel the thing and then breathe. Then take some time. I know, depending on the circumstances, that's hard. You have to act, right? Lots of times in extreme circumstances. But breathing, recognizing what's going on, and then being able to start to hand it off. Okay? So remember, we've created this fear out of observing a circumstance. Sometimes that fear is generated by the outside world telling us we need to fear. And what you got to do is check in, and is that your reality check? And again, I go back to this really matters how much external noise you're taking in through all the variety of ways there is. And it will creep in. I'm not kidding you. So I'm going to give you my example. I was going to give you a lot of the detail. I'm sure I'm trying to decide whether to do that or not, because it actually provides more context. But I don't know if I need to, because it just make the video longer. But so fear holds us down. Fear doesn't allow us to create. It holds us in place. Okay. And what I will tell you is my journey of like doing this work with all of you and my business, Purple Rain Healing. I have had a lot of experience with the desire for energies to keep me from doing this work. Some of you know about some of this. I've posted on it before, but I've got other things that happen too. And I know that the circumstance that I'm going to give you now was one of those times where I'm still getting through it, by the way. This has just happened. Was one of those times where I thought I was losing myself because I went into such fear. And fear is such a tiny world. And then everything else outside starts to have like an overlay of fear. Everything. And so in doing that, what we need to do is be able to literally hand it off. We have to hand it off to Source, to Creator, to our team. We have to ask, please take this from me. Please remove this fear from me. So I've had 3 nights where this has happened to me. I wake up in the middle of the night through this whole thing that I'll tell you about in a minute. And I am just riddled with fear. Having not been, and then all of a sudden I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, it's happening again. And I'm not kidding you. Every single time I was like, okay, I need to breathe. And then what I did was I said, team, I need you to help me. I need you to take this fear from me. It doesn't take the incident away from you. Okay, it's not taking, it's taking your reaction to it. So what they do, and this takes about 5 or 10 minutes, and then I can go back to sleep. But what I've noticed is all of a sudden it's like it is lifted off. So that dark cape is pulled off us so we can actually deal with the situation in a much more honestly sane way. So being able to have that trust and faith, ask for that assistance of removing that fear, guiding you through the incident so that you don't go into extreme fear. And the reason we're talking about this today is because where we're at collectively. There is so much fear out there now, and there's something through the rest of the year. There's going to be a huge breakdown. I don't know what this looks like. Huge breakdown collectively, a reshuffling, a new energy that's come in out of this, because this new energy from 26 is here to break down and can't stand what is old and in the way, and therefore it is flushing it out this year, is what I'm getting. Now, it doesn't happen all overnight. We'll see after effects next year, whatever. But this year, this is what's happening. All right. So what we've got to be able to do is we got to work on our own individual self and flush out what doesn't serve us. All right. So I'm going to give you my example, and then I think I'll give you a little bit more, and then we'll wrap up for the day. So here's how this went down. I've been in fear over the last 2 weeks, dramatically. It's physical fear. I've had some physical issues going on from a procedure that I had, but it wasn't the procedure. I self-created the situations I'm in. And I did it because I thought I could handle these procedures like I had in the past. That's clearly not the case. And I caused complicated things dramatically for myself. I am just now starting to get back on track. With that said, what happened to me, and I have never had this before, and I have really been in the depths particularly at night. We always know that's what happens, right? Of fear. Like how far fear can take you to feeling entirely small. So what happened is I had these series of events occur after my medical procedure, again, self-induced, where I started to panic in a huge way. And I knew it because I was taking actions in a hurried approach to try to fix the problem. And I was making it worse. Twice. So here I was as fear got tighter and tighter, and I didn't do, I at the time I was unable, and this is the thing, until we recognize, oh my God, I got to get out of this because this is going to take me down. Fear is a horrible thing. It compresses you into a tiny little nothing, and everything else outside seems like it's after you too, okay? Or that it's bad or whatever. It can start to feel that way. So what started to happen is, I was shutting down in the sense of how scared I was, because I also, what fear does, it makes the thing bigger oftentimes than what it really is. So like, what story are you telling yourself with this? And I do realize there are some things out there that warrant all the fear in the world. So we've got a whole continuum here, but anyway, this is in general, is where are you in the area of fear with anything? And you can observe this, each day. Where are you in fear? Because sometimes it's just subtle and it takes you into feeling something that you regret acting in a certain way. Whether it's just a conversation you had with someone, or a small action, how we treat somebody when we're checking out at the grocery store. Where are we at? Check in. Stay inward. Check in, right? And understand the story you're telling yourself. Because I started telling myself a big story, and I'm pretty good at that. I don't know, maybe that's everybody like that. I don't know. But anyway, so as I was telling myself this story, oh, you have no idea where I went. I basically went to the point where I will be disabled for the rest of my life, and I will be, always having to deal with this. I'm going to need a surgery, blah, 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 blah. No. So, here's the thing. This is just me talking to myself. There's no one else out there helping me with this. So I'm brought into my internal self to look at this. And this thing is, I know, right? But I'm still human. So what happens then is I'm like, okay, stop this. First of all, recognition of what I'm doing to myself. Breathe. Now, in the middle of the night, that's hard, so I just ask to have it taken from me. Anyway, breathe. Try to get outside and take a walk. That changes a lot. Although I will tell you, in my circumstance, I had whipped myself up so badly that there was nothing that was getting me away. It was so awful until I saw the physical change happen, right? But that physical change happened as I was getting signs and messages too. Literally, this is exactly what it said, the words, and I'm talking spoken to me. You know how synchronicity works. As I was in my most massive fear state, I get the words, set fear aside, trust in the spiritual journey. That's coming from an external source. Like, what are the chances of that? Because I'm in massive fear that day. The other thing that I got had to do very specifically with the situation I was in. Again, I won't tell you the complete details because it's going to take too long. But I got another synchronicity of a sentence that somebody said to me and sent me that lined directly with it, that I have no reason to not have faith and trust that I'm going to be fine. And I was in the throes of not thinking I was not fine, because I'm one of those where if it has anything to do with my physical body, and this is still a learning for me, because someday we're all going to go, had to do with my physical body, like, not maybe functioning anymore in the way that I think it did or should or whatever. And so that's not the case here, but what I've recognized is, wow, I have some work to do. I have some work to do with all the things that are presented to us in that, or in me, for me, in that arena. So anyway, with this fear that was coming in, all of a sudden I started realizing, because it was it came in at one point for me. So I had the learning of the journey of fear, releasing fear, as I got my signs and messages. And then the next day I started to be fine. I like immediately the next day. But then the learning wasn't done because for whatever reason, I chose to make some decisions because this is a process, remember? I decided to make some decisions on myself with respect to that situation that caused a bigger problem or caused the same problem just as I was getting out of it. So as that happens, I then am blaming myself. So we're dealing with shame now. So I get fear and shame all at the same time. Oh my God, I'm like, I am shaming myself, which took me also, at that time, I wasn't in fear. I was so mad at myself. And I'm a perfectionist too. I've had to really learn and go through that. So I'm telling you all this because it may help you understand how this shows up in your journey. So then I get this shame thing, like needing to forgive myself. All will be well. This is also at the same time of having faith and trust that I'm not going down a path that is going to be permanent, right? And I have a lot of history with this situation of like, having some not good stuff happen where that, could have been a potential, wasn't. But again, I'm telling myself a story when I know I'm healthy and well. So I tell myself this story, and at the same time, I'm realizing I know this. I need to have faith and trust. All is well in the way it's meant to be. You need to remove yourself from your emotion, from this fear. You need to remove yourself from this emotion. How are you going to do that? And so what started to happen is, of course, I channel. I mean, when we're connected, it's a very helpful thing. But the thing is, what we also tend to do, if you do work like I do, or you just do, not have a business necessarily, but sometimes it's hard to trust your own personal stuff. I don't know why, because it just spews out for other people. But that said, that'll happen. So I was dealing with, do I trust it? All that. But trust and faith, and being able to just know. I knew, but I was also in fear. So it's this battle back and forth of being able to release fear because it can have such tentacles in, right? So what started to happen is I had been told how this process would work out. I knew you might just know in your gut. No, I know I'm okay, but then this fear thing does this like creep in and just tentacles around you, right? But now recognizing, oh my God, I'm in fear. I mean, that was pretty obvious for me. But then it's like, what it does is it takes every part of you with it, okay? When it gets severe. It takes every part of you with it. You can't create, for sure. You can't create. You just maneuver through your day. You can't create in the way that we're talking about spiritually, right? It holds you fast. And it changes your physiology as well. And, all those things that we know occur when you're in severe fear. Whether the event in itself on the outside would look like something fearful, because there are those, as we know, generates fear. This situation's still the same, but it gets a little more intense, right? But to us individually, it creates the fear. We all have different things. So really being then able to analyze this, step back, have trust and faith, and then what happened to me is now this second round of the same thing after a medical procedure. The second round, this is now how many days? Like 14 days later. Is that right? 16 days later. My God. I'm just now on the path of full wellness. Now, in the process, I've learned how to work on fear. I'm not perfect. I just know what's going on. And I know how to start to deal with it. Doesn't mean I still won't feel fear in some cases, but I need to start to back up because otherwise we can't create from that. In my case, the creating from that is getting back healthy and well. If I'm holding on to fear, that doesn't help me heal, right? And so then also the shame part, I blamed myself. That didn't last long, fortunately, though. It only lasted like a day. Fear was taken over, though, so maybe that's why. Fear and shame, two of the biggest energies that we can have that hold us down. I've been dealing with this in August. I wonder where you're at on that journey. And again, it might just not be fear and shame, but it's an emotional part of this that we're here to learn how to deal with and handle our emotions because it's super important moving into September for the rest of the year and our journey forward, because it allows us to elevate by creating anew, but we can't do it while we're held in fear. So I think I'm going to stop there today because I want you to take a few nuggets away, hopefully, for your journey. And like I said, take what resonates, toss the rest aside, but stay open. I always have the goal of hopefully you taking away a few puzzle pieces for the puzzle of your own journey. But this is really what we're looking at moving forward into the rest of the year. Again, this is for everyone, regardless of whether you're consciously aware you're on the awakening journey, but it is most relevant and understandable for those who know that you're shifting and changing, something's going on, or that you're fully aware you're in spiritual awakening. So with that today, I will leave you with my information if you'd like to work with me, because I work with people one-on-one with these kinds of things all the time in mentoring them through their spiritual awakening journey through channeled messages and information, and also helpful experiences from others without obviously using names. But anyway, helping you understand the collective journey. Anyway, purplerainhealing.com. You can fill out a form if you want a consultation, just to chat for 15 minutes about what you might be looking for. You can also see all of my services there. So with that today, thank you so much for joining me today. Have a wonderful start of your September.